Aaron Rodgers, after losing to the Los Angeles Rams, and they've barely been able to find any victories. Their only victory in the last several weeks came against Mac Jones and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Great win, whoop-de-doo. Rodgers spoke in the post-game conference and kind of called out his team as well as one particular player, it seems, because his reaction kind of makes it seem like he doesn't want to be there. So take a listen to Aaron Rodgers as well as Garrett Wilson post-game.
Well, I don't know if I think we're kind of past the keeping the positive thing. I think it's just about perspective. Your perspective informs your truth, and your truth makes your reality. So the reality situation is what it is. But your perspective is something you can change every single day. So what you're focusing on is the most important thing now. It's not to change the reality of the situation, being 4-11 out of the playoffs, going into an unknown offseason, but you got to figure out what it means to be a professional. I think that's an important part of building culture. For the last 2 weeks, we can really see who's on board moving forward and who is ready to get out.
Got to go out and put my best foot forward, and hope that things fall my way. I would love to be involved, love to make an impact on the game, but people see it differently than that's outside of my control. So just try and do what I can do.
So my question is, do you have any issue with Aaron Rodgers' comment?
Actually, I don't disagree with generally what he said. I think those are all true statements. Change your perspective is something you can change every day, every single day. That's true. I agree with that. That's not going to change the reality of the situation, being 4-11 out of the playoffs, going into an unknown offseason, but where we got to figure out what it means to be a professional. That's an important part of building culture. I think those things are all true. Having him say it now after the way he's performed and the expectations that were there for him and the influence that he was allowed to have on the team makes it sound like he's a little bit sour grapes. And I think there's a hint in there that he's saying that some of his teammates have quit. And I think those two people in particular, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, I think are two players he may be thinking about. Rodgers says, it's part of the game when you're in a situation where you're not going to make the playoffs and you still have games to play. I've been on a couple of teams where we were out of it, and it's interesting to watch the practice habits, the preparation habits. Hopefully we'll do the right thing. That means a lot because everyone is watching, and there will be interesting conversations in the next couple of weeks. But just focus on the relationships we have with each other and try to finish this thing out like pros. And I think here he's trying to say, I want to be back. I want to come back to this team. And I think, I don't know, I heard a couple of weeks ago, Woody Johnson couldn't get him out of there fast enough. In fact, they were talking about letting him go before the end of the season. You haven't heard too much about that lately. I mean, he's had a couple of games now where throwing to Devontae Adams, who can be back with the Jets next year, that connections look pretty good. He wants to be back with the Jets, I think, and that's kind of what he's trying to say here. Whether they want him back, it was clear they didn't for a while there. Now I'm not so sure. I don't know. They have no GM or head coach, so those leaders will figure out what's going to happen when they're picked. And there are big questions about who will be around in 2025. I think that's the big thing here. I'm not sure the last 2 weeks are going to matter all that much to that decision-making because it's going to be a new group of people that are making those decisions. And really, Aaron Rodgers is the first big decision the new GM and the head coach are going to have to make.
Well, I think when it comes to this situation, it is the person saying it that matters the most. Because he talks about, figure out what it means to be a professional and focusing on the right thing. Did he set an example this season in the offseason for mandatory minicamps when he was focusing on what matters most? Meaning, this is the first time you're healthy now. This is the first time you're going out there and you're going to be playing, for this season healthy. And he's focused during mandatory minicamps on going on an ayahuasca trip. Is that focusing on what matters? Is that focusing on the truth or whatever the philosopher Rodgers says? I think it's the wrong person saying it. And yeah, Garrett Wilson's pissed. I'd be pissed too. Because instead of focusing on me, who should be the star of the Jets moving forward, instead, Rodgers has to bring over 4 of his buddies who he's focusing on. Early season, what was it a lot of? Alan Lazard. Focus a lot on Alan Lazard, who last year led the league in drop percentage. That's an issue. Also had a couple of drops this season before getting hurt, and he was banged up this season. And then, Devontae Adams, Rodgers' key piece the last year they were together. Really, the mantra was, if he's going to be out there, I'm just going to close my eyes and throw it to him and see if he can make a play. And that happened in the playoff game against San Francisco. I picked the 49ers to win because I believed in Jimmy Garoppolo. I turned out to be right because in the first half it was a little bit scary because they were connecting and it was great. And then it was, okay, Rodgers keeps trying and it's not working. Go to somebody else. And it kind of fell flat. So Devontae Adams was his key piece of that. And then the last season with the Packers, without Devontae Adams, because he shipped him out there because he wanted $150 million over 3 years, fully guaranteed. Oh, the offense is worse. And Rodgers has his first double-digit interception year in several seasons. And now we take a look at Rodgers this season, and it's a lot of hit and miss with a lot of misses. Rodgers has been better the past few weeks, much better, and especially targeting Devontae Adams, it's been great. But when the star of the Jets, because Devontae Adams, if Rodgers leaves or retires or whatever, Devontae Adams, we'll see a repeat performance of Devontae Adams on the Jets. He will not be there next season, at least for the full season. He won't be there. Devontae Adams will be gone because he has made every single move Devontae Adams has made in the NFL has been to reunite with a friend. With a friend. You leave the Packers and you go over to the Raiders to play with your old college quarterback, Derek Carr, who then gets shipped out that season. And then you force your way to the Jets to go team up with Aaron Rodgers, who was your quarterback when you first got into the league. Devontae Adams has never made a decision based on his own level of success. He hasn't made it because he wants to go win football games. He went to go chill with his buddies, to chill with his former college quarterback, to chill with his former NFL quarterback. So I fully expect Devontae Adams to not be New York Jet next season because I don't think Rodgers is coming back. I don't think Woody Johnson wants him back. I think he'll take the dead cap or whatever bonus money that Rodgers is still owed. He'll take it as a slap on the wrist and move on because the general manager can look at the Jets and look at the rumors and look at the reports and look at everything and say, okay, why would I want players to come into this situation? Why would I want a young player to come into this situation? And you listen and you hear some of the players that Rodgers has played with say, we need to be careful. We got to always make sure Rodgers is happy. We got to walk on eggshells and we're around him to make sure everything's great. Who would want to play for that team that has that as their quote unquote leader? Rodgers is not aging well. He's just not. He's milk. He's milk when you leave it out. Brady, he's aging very well. I think Mahomes will age very well. I think there's a couple quarterbacks here that when they get into the later years of the NFL, they'll age very beautifully. Rodgers, it's kind of like hitting the side of a wall. It's dipping, like falling off a cliff. 90-degree angle, he's plummeting. Because not only is he not playing tremendously well, yes, he has moments like this game, and also a couple games like against Miami, where he does have nice games. Like against Jacksonville, he had a great game. But in the grand scheme of things, they have no culture. They have a toxic culture. Rodgers really is very self-centered because he hasn't played that well. And by the way, who fumbled in the fourth quarter when they were trying to drive and to put up more points? It was Aaron Rodgers, who has one of the worst red zone offenses. I'll give you the actual number. Who has the 24th ranked red zone offense in the NFL? The New York Jets, led by quarterback Aaron Rodgers. And their defense, by the way, we think their defense is worse. Technically, based on the numbers, they have the 6th-ranked total defense in the NFL, while the 23rd-ranked total offense. So, yes, Rodgers is not the biggest problem. The offensive line's not that great. At least it's worse than what we thought it would be. But he's a massive piece of their failures because he is the leader. He is the figurehead. He is the guy. He's the assistant general manager. He brought over a bunch of people. So, and if you're alienating your star receiver because you have been targeting Devontae Adams at an insane clip the last 4 games, you have double-digit targets to Devontae Adams. Meanwhile, Garrett Wilson, the past 2 weeks, has tied his season low season, second lowest and lowest for targets. So I kind of, because by the way, everything is actually going very right and also wrong, because I think they're going to get off Rodgers. You bring in a new quarterback. But now a new general manager will need to determine who am I paying between Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. That's an issue. Then you're probably going to need to pay Will McDonald, who has performed very well. You're going to need to start paying some of your rookies here. At the time they were rookies, some of your young guys. Mm-hmm. And you're going to need to make some business decisions, as Antonio Pierce would say. And I think that maybe Garrett Wilson's making a business decision. Actually, I think it's more Rodgers making it for him by not targeting him.
Oh.
I think he wants to be targeted. I think he wants to perform very well.
Yeah.
It's just when you get targeted 6 times and have 3 catches, it's like,
well, now there's competition from Devontae Adams. Rodgers would prefer to throw it to him.
Because he's a security blanket. It's all about the numbers. And this is what I say, right? Nowadays, and if Rodgers keeps playing, I think this can only hurt his legacy case. What does Rodgers have now besides his touchdown to interception ratio? What's left?
There's one Super Bowl.
One Super Bowl, what, 11, 12, 13 years ago?
He has that. He has a lot of times being in the playoffs, getting his team to the playoffs.
But he's come up small
It's come up small in recent years.
They went 15-1 in 2011 and lost to the Giants in the divisional round. 15-1.
Yeah.
Like there's been a lot of moments where it's like the expectations for Rodgers are great. MVP season. What, 47 touchdowns to 6 picks or whatever? And he fails in the playoffs.
I think he wants to play next year. I think he wants to come back to the Jets to try to resurrect what turned out to be a bad situation, because initially we were all told and everyone thought, we have all the pieces, all we need is a quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is the guy who's coming in, going to take us to the Super Bowl. And that's what they thought was going to happen. The first year he got hurt on play number 4 and was out for the whole year. This year he's there the whole year, and they played very poorly. So I think that you may be right that he's gone, but I think they're gonna think hard about it. I don't think they're gonna make a decision until they get a new head coach and new GM. And they have to think about, well, what do we do if we don't have Aaron Rodgers? Who's the quarterback going to be? Kirk Cousins? He's going to be available.
Sam Darnold.
I don't know if Sam Darnold will want to come back to the Jets. And if they brought him back and he played like he did when he was there before, then that will be a disaster. And they'll say that look at the Jets leadership again in the head office. They blew it again. So I'd be surprised if it's Sam Darnold. Who else would there be? Who else could be there?
Well, he was on a show, my brother John Harvey. He said maybe Geno Smith, trade for Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, another guy who does he want to come back to the Jets the way they treated him? They treated him terribly.
Well, I mean,
why would I? If I were Geno Smith,
Todd Bowles at the time,
why would I want to come back there?
I
guess if he didn't have another option, then maybe he'd be considered.
Well, he does, because he's still under contract with the Seahawks, but
for another year. I mean, he hasn't played that badly this year.
No, he hasn't. Who
would the Seahawks replace him with? Who would they get? Sam Darnold?
Well, right now they have Sam Howell, who is terrible.
He's terrible. He was in there a little bit. Geno got banged up a little bit. He came in.
It was not good.
It was just horrible.
It was bad. It was very
horrible.
Bad. I think there's a shot that they could be drafting a quarterback in the near future, which I think is a smart idea.
Yeah, but a rookie, you're going to put a rookie out there? I don't know.
What, with DK Metcalf, JSN, Tyler Lockett?
Why wouldn't you
Charbonnet,
use it? You're going to have high draft pick. Draft an offensive lineman.
Well, no.
Right? Draft an offensive lineman in the first round.
I want to make it very clear. My prediction is the Jets draft a quarterback. That's what I said. And y'all were like, well, I don't think they'll put a rookie out there for the Jets. I'm like, why not? Yeah, you have Jordan Travis, but I think he's still recovering from his, horrible injury that he suffered. He played for?
The quarterback group this time around is not that great.
Correct. So unless you have a top,
why wouldn't you turn Aaron Rodgers into a game manager, or draft an offensive lineman, use your trade down. And pick up more picks later in
that is legitimately what my take was. I said you take your first round pick, drop lower in the first round. You could draft one of the mid-tier quarterbacks in the first round anyway, or you could save him until the second round. Who knows?
Yeah.
But you need to draft a quarterback. I don't think Jordan Travis is going to take you anywhere that Rodgers couldn't. And I want to make and you know what's crazy about this? Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, and Tim Boyle put up a better season, and Zach Wilson just in general, put up a better season than what everybody's calling a first ballot Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers. with better talent. Because Zach Wilson didn't have this offensive line. Zach Wilson had a banged up Breece Hall who didn't play really. Then you also you by the way you had Alan Lazard.
You only had one receiver. You really only had Garrett Wilson.
Well, last year Alan Lazard led the league in drop percentage, so you had a receiver who couldn't catch passes. You had a terrible offensive line.
Yeah.
And Zach Wilson did better than Rodgers did, and everybody said Rodgers is sure first ballot Hall of Fame, and I'm saying, well, shouldn't this affect that? I'm not saying that Rodgers isn't a Hall of Famer. You win 4 or 5 MVPs, you win a Super Bowl, yeah, you're probably going to make it to the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. But I'm taking a look at I'm taking a look at what have you done for me lately, and I'm saying, well, you're not playing well. It's embarrassing how bad you've been playing, and you had the reputation.
Hasn't played that bad the last 3 or 4 weeks. 3 or 4 weeks. He's played okay. I mean, he played well. Davante Adams against the Jaguars? The Davante Adams had a fantastic game.
12 targets, 9 catches, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's had at least one touchdown.
Not too bad. I mean, it took him
games.
a while to get back in the sync of things, and they've shown that they can do it. They can still do it. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers gets released.
By the way, in that time frame, they're 1-3.
If Aaron Rodgers is released by the Jets, what do you think? Does he retire?
Rodgers?
Yeah,
he should. He
should. But will he? I don't think so.
He's got a brand new series out. He's going to drag this out. He's got a brand new documentary, whatever you want to call it. He's going to drag it out. He's going to make it like he always did. Well, I don't know if I'm coming back. Nah, I'm 90% retired. I'm going to go into the darkness. I'm going to merge like a hobbit, and I'm going to be like, you know what? I want to go to the New York Jets. Meanwhile, you've already been traded because your general manager, Brian Gutekunst, was fed up with you. So go into a darkness retreat. Find your inner peace. Take a long time. Keep recording your documentary. I don't really care. But what I do care about is you're a toxic culture to a team that can't sustain someone like you. They need someone with a positive energy. Robert Saleh tried to bring that. He tried his very best, and Woody Johnson got fed up because he lost in horrible fashion.
There won't be a decision made until they hire a GM and a head coach.
Well, according to Rodgers, that could be January 6th as soon as the season ends, because reportedly they want to hire a GM very, very soon. So we could be seeing some movement being made very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we'll see.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for watching this clip of the Harvey Hour. If you want to watch the full show, you can by clicking the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to take the show with you on the go, it is available wherever you get your podcast. We go live here on YouTube every single Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified whenever we upload a video and whenever we go live.